other fighting game stuff. There was the implosion of that is 2XKO, which Jack will probably be more informed about.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, is that it is sad to see that Riot had to let go of that many employees for a project that they just released, and the only person I know who comments that I've seen who commented on it was Sajam, and in his opinion, he believed that those companies were probably already scheduled to be let go before the game was even dropped. But there was a lot of hubbub that because the game's lukewarm reception went to it's gonna finally release, that's the reason why Riot let go of a lot of companies. If that is the case, that's well, I'll put it. So that's what caused a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mockery about TXKO when it come out. Aside from just the game itself, there's the poor timing of all the employees they had to let go. But I'll take it to Jack because you'll know more about it.
No, this is actually a
Oh,
first
damn.
for me because again, even though I used to be the League of Legends guy, ever since they ended up putting their antivirus or like their anti cheat kernel level stuff on every game, I just kind of stopped seeing anything related
Oh,
to
okay.
Riot. But this goes into more of my question to you, which was, let me see if I remember the phrasing of the question. But I remember last week we were gonna talk about like the fighting game stuff before all the
Yeah.
current news that happened. There was an article we were gonna talk about, but there was a question that I asked Hack, which was about particularly 2XKO, is that it's more of a statement. 2XKO was more advertised towards the arcane League of Legends fans rather than the fighting game fans. So instead of 2XKO being a way for Riot to bring more players to the fighting game community, they did the complete opposite, or in fact, just did not even go in a general direction. They just thought, hey, putting a fighting game, that's enough. They didn't think about if fighting game fans are going to enjoy this because people have to realize when it comes to fighting games, who are most likely going to be playing these fighting
At the
games? Certainly not the run of the mill Joe, because the run of the mill Joe is either going to be, as Hack says, playing the gun and ball games. It's sad to say, I'm going to say it to all the fighting game guys. It's sad to say, but fighting games, they're a niche. Not many people like it. So if the company that is making a fighting game did not advertise this to the fighting game community, of course, the fighting game community is not going to be able to enjoy 2XKO. Like Hack and I and Hack Ghetto and I, we all played 2XKO in the very
yeah.
beginning. We saw that it had some potential, but I don't know. For me personally, I didn't feel it. I don't know. What about you, Hack? If you can remember how you felt
My
about it.
time was limited, and of course he played an early version of the game back in 2023, and the impression I was left with was that was neat, but it's hard for me to be a good judge in it because we didn't have a lot of time to spend with the game. We didn't dig deep into its core mechanics and able to understand what the game is trying to be. And so here's what if I could take over a little if I could take over a little
I
bit because
Go ahead.
I have followed all the kind of commentary going on with 2XKO from fighting game news outlets and commentators. And one common thing that they mentioned was that there's a lot of questionable design choices. One of them being, why did you make this attack fighter if your whole mission statement was that you were gonna make a fighting game that anyone can play?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much you simplify the controls. A tag fighter, you're asking someone, hey, we want you to commit to learning at least 2 characters in tandem. People already struggle enough with just learning one character. That's a niche. Tag fighters, that is a niche of a niche. And the only popular ones that work, you literally have to put in mainstream characters for people to give a damn. All right, let's be real.
Yeah.
If Marvel versus Capcom didn't have Marvel or Capcom, and it was just a pure original characters, the game would have an audience, but not a big audience like it has now. Just saying.
Jumping off of that, it's like that one time where I was like it's like any other gamer. They would just pitch an idea to a random person that's like working adjacent to Riot to see if maybe the information gets passed down. I pitched an idea that was like really closely related to a lot of technical characters. And you know how I am. I love me a technical character. Whenever I get the chance to be able to like put the time in and thought into it. That's why at any fighting game I play the most weirdest characters. They'll be like, who the fuck plays DJ? Nowadays, at the early of the game, DJ was like a prominent character, but still, I digress.
Yep. And I still remember you were a.
I was talking to one of
the
people.
I was gonna mention another example. Back in our Skullgirls days, you were a big Misfortune player.
Yeah, and like the whole thing with Misfortune was literally trying to figure out how to use her head in a very like in a decent way to be able to hit people from both the front and the back. Pause. But yeah, same thing with Jacko and Guilty Gear. I was going around trying to figure out how to like properly use her minions. So of course I would go into this Evo, and then when I see the 2XKO people, I was just like, they'll be talking about the game, trying to like tell people, like get the game out there. And I was telling them like, like are you gonna have like what other characters are you gonna have like in the future, or like are currently in the plans of having a character out there that's very technical? Because like I was thinking and very quickly pitched an idea of having Azir, which is a very technical character in League of Legends. He doesn't attack with his own spells directly. It's just how he commands his troops that will determine how well he does in the game. So I said, like, what if we have something like Azir where he can do his attacks, but then he can summon a soldier, either depending on how, if it's like a strong, like a light attack, strong attack, a medium attack, or strong attack, it can be summoned in a certain spot, and that soldier can be able to start attacking from that direction. Of course, adding in any gameplay balances. But so then Azir would be a very technical character where you're not only having to position yourself in the proper way, but have the aspect of having change, like to actually like figure out his resources of managing his minions. So then people can do these crazy combos with Azir because, of course, tag fighters, they love their crazy combos. Just imagine a crazy combo with Azir and then tag out to another person in your team. Then they can tag out to another person in their team to do a finishing move. It is like, for me personally, it would have been the best fighting game character for like these technical players. But of course, they went with the most safe option, which I don't blame them. They went with the safe option of having a lot of arcane characters. And when I say arcane characters, yeah, they're technically League of Legends, but they're arcane. They set their names out there through the Netflix series. So you had your Vi's, Echoes, Jinxes, and other stuff like that. It didn't provide a way for fighting game enthusiasts to kind of like break the mold.
I also want to add
games.
that one of the common criticisms when 2XKO dropped was that a lot of people were saying, wait, you guys are working on this game for 10 years and there's only, I believe currently there's only 8 characters in the game. I believe. Let me double check. But it is a tag fighter, it is a pitiful amount of characters.
Yeah, it is. very sad to see because like I I went into the whenever I saw it in Evo, I was expecting to see like yeah, just a starting roster of characters, and then maybe like a like once when they started hard launching it, they'll be like, okay, here are the rest of the roster. Nope, it's just
All right,
yep,
let me
just
get
these
the correct
characters.
number. Let me get the
You got your
correct number.
Yasuo.
It's actually 14 characters, and as of this episode, 14 characters in total.
It's kind of
Now, for
sad for me.
comparison, now for
Very
for
disappointed.
comparison, let's
Hmm.
look at vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Not Ultimate, just the original game when that came out. I'm looking it up right now to see how many did vanilla Marvel 3 had when that came out back in 2011. In fairness, with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it is a 3v3 fighter, so of course you would want a lot more characters, but it's still the idea you need a lot of characters. I mean, look at King of Fighters. So if I'm reading
Yeah.
correctly, original Marvel vs. Capcom 3 gave you 36 characters, and that's not including any of the DLC characters
Hmm.
or the characters added in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. 36. Reminder: TXKO only has 14. Let's compare to like system wise. Let's compare it to a game that's similar in design to TXKO, which actually would be Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because they actually have very similar tag systems. It's not quite like the classic Marvel vs. Capcom games. It's more so like Infinite. So I'm looking up Infinite, and as far as playable characters, excluding DLC, if I exclude DLC, that is
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, so 6, 12, 18, 24. Look at that, 36. And that is a 2v2 fighter. So,
Yep.
and Riot has money, is not they're not a small beans game publisher and developer. They have the resources to like add in a whole bunch of characters. And the best part is that just like with Marvel vs. Capcom, they already have established characters to work with. Jack, a rough estimate, how many League of characters can someone play? A rough estimate.
I would say like at least a minimum of 100.
Well, we
But
could
let me
say
say,
it's in the triple digits.
yeah, and there as of January 2026, there are 172 champions.
172. Now, of course, we're not asking for 172 characters in a fighting game. That's a madness. But if we can at least, you know what? Let's see. I'm getting out my calculator. I'm gonna do some math, some hard math. 176 divided by 32. If we can at least get 5% of League of Legends characters, just 5%, you have enough to fill a tag fighting game roster, the base roster.
Yep.
So, and so that's also been a lot of mockery and criticism regarding the game. And look, you can't. The game does not live in a vacuum. There's plenty of fighting games to play right now, both like TXKO and ones that are different. And all the competition gives you a lot more variety and options than what TXKO has to offer, even if it's free.
Yep.
Ghetto provides another example for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, in which he says that the game launched with 12 characters. However, the game, unlike TXKO, actually had a strict budget. So you can at least give that, okay, it is a more cheaply made Power Rangers fighting game. It does not have the resources and talents of 2XKO. And still, when you look, and still the game still was able to grow its roster by from 12 to 26 with DLC over time. So they at least fixed that issue very soon, soon enough. And I assume that was gonna be the plan for 2XKO. They're gonna keep adding in more champions, but you gotta make that good first impression. And in the fighting game space, we all know what happens if you make a bad first impression. Look at Street Fighter V. Look at Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Look at what's another one? I'm thinking on top of my. Look at King of Fighters 14. King of Fighter.
At this point, it's. I was about to say. I'm expecting another Street Fighter in there just because you said Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter,
the original Street
Fighter 1.
Street Fighter 1 gets an exception. No, literally the original Street Fighter 3 was a bad, not only was it like a bad first attempt, it was a bad first impression. The original Street Fighter 3. Oh man. And I was also saying King of Fighters 14. If that game looked a little bit better, people would still be playing it. Because that game is actually fun to play, but because it just looks the way it looks, no one wanted to touch it. So first impressions of everything, not just the fighting games, but with all matters of life. And 2XKO with its lack of characters, it's really nothing novel that it brought with it. The attack system's not novel. Simplified controls are not a new thing. Even the novel League of Legends characters, I mean, that could have been a boon if they actually had. It goes back to the original issue with not enough characters, and a lesser factor, just also the news of the layoffs just let a bad taste in people's mouth because of the game. Even if we don't know if it's that directly tied with the games. I won't call it a failure because it's still ongoing. It could always turn things around, but I will say it's lukewarm reception.
Yeah.
So that is 2XKO. I will say though, if there was one novel thing it had going for it, I would have loved to do the actual 2-player versus 2-player because not a lot of fighting games have that. And if let's say, and I like to imagine a different timeline in which the game came out to a more positive reception and it was much better made, that Jack and I would have our team and trying to work together and just all the fun shenanigans we can have on stream with that. Just imagine.
Yep.
I can even see myself like, all right, round start. All right, Jack, you go first. I'm gonna sit this one out. Have fun.
It would have been amazing, but of course, due to a lot of my own personal stuff and other things.
Well, let's hope. Yeah. Hey, but you know what? At least, Jack, you're not a Mortal Kombat fan. This was an edited clip from our weekly live stream, the Hack Jack Show. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to be notified of all of our future videos and catch the show live every Monday night. Hype the video, don't forget to press the like button, and leave your comments down below. This is Hack, signing off.